All right, welcome. Today, we are jumping into one of the most intense stories ever told, Exodus chapter 8. But we're not just going to retell the story of the plagues. Nope, we're going to break down what makes it tick. This powerful repeating cycle of demand, destruction, and defiance that just builds and builds this incredible tension. So, let's get into it.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll set the scene for this high-stakes standoff. Then, we're going to walk through the plagues of frogs and flies, and you'll want to pay close attention to this huge turning point with Pharaoh's magicians. And finally, we'll zoom out and map out that brilliant repeating cycle of defiance that really drives this whole conflict.
Okay, so picture this. We're in the heart of the ancient Egyptian empire. You've got Moses and Aaron on one side, representing the enslaved Hebrew people and their God. And on the other, you have Pharaoh, the absolute ruler of what was then the most powerful nation on earth. And the whole thing, everything, boils down to a single, uncompromising choice.
Look how simple and direct this is. This isn't a friendly chat or a negotiation. It's an ultimatum, plain and simple. You have the clear demand on one side and the equally clear consequence on the other. It's this choice, freedom or plague, that sets the stakes sky high right from the start. There's absolutely no middle ground here.
And that brings us to the first major plague in this chapter, the frogs. Now, as we go through this, I really want you to watch for a specific sequence of events, a pattern that's about to become super important.
Listen to that description. It's designed to be visceral, to really get under your skin. This is not just some minor inconvenience. It's a total invasion. Frogs in your bed, frogs in your food, you literally can't escape. The psychological pressure here is meant to be just as crushing as the physical one. It's a demonstration of a power that can touch anything and anyone, anywhere. So, Aaron acts, and boom, the plague begins. But then, Pharaoh's magicians step up. Using their secret arts, they do the exact same thing. Now, you gotta think about this from Pharaoh's point of view. If his own guys can do it too, why should he be impressed? This moment is absolutely crucial because it creates a power stalemate. It gives Pharaoh the perfect excuse to just brush off Moses' demand.
But the sheer number of frogs, the absolute overwhelming chaos of it all, it becomes too much. And this is where Pharaoh cracks. He calls for Moses and Aaron and just begs them. For the very first time, he's desperate enough to make a promise. Get rid of these frogs and I'll let your people go. He's the first one to blink.
And here it is, the final step in the cycle. Moses prays, the frogs die, and they're piled up in these disgusting, stinking heaps all over the country. The relief is real. But the second that intense pressure is gone, so is the promise. Pharaoh sees he has some breathing room, and his heart hardens. The deal's off. You gotta remember that pattern. Plea, promise, relief, and then reversal.
Now, this next plague, it might seem smaller, but it is a massive, massive turning point in the story. This is the moment where that stalemate we just talked about gets completely shattered, and the balance of power shifts for good.
Aaron strikes the dust, and it turns into swarms of gnats. Again, it's one of those inescapable, maddening plagues affecting everyone and everything. But this time, the response from Pharaoh's court is going to be very, very different.
So let's just look at the magician's track record so far. They turned water to blood? No problem. They summoned frogs? They did it. But when they try to create gnats from dust, nothing. They fail. And this just perfectly shows that their power, their secret arts, has a very clear and undeniable limit. They have hit a wall they cannot get past. And what they do next is just stunning. In this incredible admission, they turn to Pharaoh and they say it themselves. This is the finger of God. They are acknowledging a power that is way beyond anything they can do. Think about that. Pharaoh's own top advisors, his spiritual and scientific experts, are telling him he's outmatched. But even then, he refuses to listen. His heart stays hard.
All right, let's move on to the next round, because things really escalate now. With the magicians basically out of the picture, the Plague of Flies introduces two totally new things to this standoff: a clear divine separation of people and Pharaoh's very first attempt to negotiate.
This is a total game changer. For the very first time, a line is drawn in the sand. Egypt is being ruined by flies, but the land of Goshen, where the Hebrews live, is completely untouched. So this isn't just a random display of power anymore, it's a targeted sign. The plague now basically has a return address, which makes it impossible for Pharaoh to just dismiss it as some freak act of nature.
So, feeling the pressure, Pharaoh switches up his strategy. He goes from just saying no to trying to negotiate. His first offer is, hey, just sacrifice here in Egypt. Moses rejects it. So he tries again. Okay, fine, go into the wilderness, but don't go very far. See what he's doing? He's trying to give a little, but still keep them on a really tight leash.
Moses agrees to pray for the flies to go away, but he gives this very direct warning. He calls Pharaoh out on his whole pattern of behavior. He's basically saying, look, we've done this before, don't make another promise you have no intention of keeping. It's so clear that everyone, including Moses, knows exactly what's probably going to happen next.
And what do you know? The cycle repeats itself perfectly. The flies are gone, the relief comes, and just like Moses predicted, Pharaoh hardens his heart and goes back on the deal. So even after negotiation, even after being called out directly, that pattern of defiance holds.
Okay, so now that we've walked through these plagues, we can step back and see the narrative blueprint that's at work here. This isn't just a random series of events, it's a powerful, repeating cycle that is the engine for this entire story.
Here it is laid out plain and simple. It always starts with the demand. Refusing the demand brings the plague. The pressure from the plague leads to a plea and a promise. Once there's relief from the plague, it's immediately followed by the reversal where Pharaoh hardens his heart. This five-step cycle creates this incredible rhythm of tension rising and falling over and over again.
And just to put a really fine point on it, this cycle isn't a one-time thing. After the frogs, after the gnats, and after the flies, 3 times just in this one chapter, the text explicitly says that Pharaoh hardened his heart and refused to listen. The story is laser-focused on this theme of stubborn, repetitive defiance.
So, we end with this question for you to think about. This deliberate repeating structure isn't just for drama. It's making a really profound point. What does this cycle of defiance reveal about how power works, or about how fragile promises made under pressure really are? And ultimately, what does it say about the consequences of a hardened heart? It's a pattern that asks us to think deeply about why we resist, even when the evidence is staring us right in the face. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.